Hi everyone, today we are talking all about vintage jewelry. I love really anything that has a bit of history to it and a story to tell, and these pieces are no exception. These are all going to range from jewelry that was crafted in, I think, about around the 1890s to, the 80s and 90s, and some of it's even now and kind of replicated a certain time in history. Now, the first ring I'd like to show you is this Art Deco piece. It has these beautiful cutouts to it and this gorgeous long sort of geometric shape. It also has white gold in the middle and a tiny diamond in the center of the white gold. Now, this is a ring that I've seen in several places. I got mine off of eBay. I don't recommend going on eBay. I mean, do it at your own risk. I did it at my own risk, and I'm very happy with this purchase. It does have the 10K stamp on it. At the time I bought it, I was sort of discovering myself as a journalist and the stories I was doing. And I was doing a lot of stories about buildings and architecture in Los Angeles. The famous architecture and the most historical architecture is often from the 1920s. So this reminded me, because of the length of it and the shape of it, of a building, a 1920s style building. And when I look down at it, I really do remember that time in my life and running around, running downtown like a lunatic because there's never any parking there, and trying to get the story with all of my audio equipment and learning about these buildings and the grandeur of old Hollywood, and sort of, discovering all of that history in the city I was working in. So this has sentimental value. Now, this next ring is a pinky ring, and it's a signet ring. I had wanted a signet ring for a really long time. And the thing that really got me about this particular ring is that there are florals imprinted on or engraved on the side of the ring. I love floral prints. I'm wearing birds today, but I often wear floral prints in my videos. I don't know. I feel like I have a connection to flowers, and I always love just looking at flowers and plants. So this was a no-brainer for me. I got this on eBay as well. This, I think, is 9 carats, and it has 2 M's stamped on the middle of the signet. It is just really interesting to look down at it and kind of wonder where it came from and who wore it before. And just having a signet pinky ring is something that I like to style with other rings, other vintage pieces, but I really love it on its own too. It just sort of makes a statement. And because it is all gold and it's not super, I mean, it's kind of thin, but not, a super dainty piece of jewelry. It feels kind of weighty, and I just love looking at this big kind of circle of gold on my pinky finger. Now, next we have a ring that is very special to me. My mom actually gave this to me on Mother's Day. My mom does stuff like that. I was like, it's your day. She bought my sister and I rings for Mother's Day. She is seriously like the sweetest person ever. But this is so near and dear to me. It's not technically a vintage piece, but to me, it looks very vintage. When I was little, my grandmother gave me a ring that had this design. It has these 2 sort of intertwined stones. One is my mom's stone, that is the garnet, that's on the lower part of the ring, and on top is my stone, which is the sapphire. It's set in 10 karat gold and has diamond pave around the side. It's absolutely beautiful. Aside from, loving the birthstone of my mom and mine together on one ring, I really love the color combination as well. That deep red and the deep blue, I think, goes really well together. I love wearing this on its own. It reminds me a lot of rings in the 80s and 90s, this sort of intertwined look of the ring, and it's not a bezel, but it's prongs holding those stones together. That is to me a nod to the 80s and the 90s. It's still kind of a dainty piece. I don't love dainty jewelry. I like things that make more of a statement, but I don't think that this is, you know, super like too small for me. And what I like to do with this ring is pair it with other vintage rings. It just feels very eclectic. Like I have a lot on my hands, but it all kind of goes together, even though they're from different eras. I think the pinky ring is from the 1890s, and then you have the 1920s, and then you have a ring in the style of the 80s or early 90s there, and it all kind of goes together in this very eclectic, almost modern way, if that makes sense. That's why I love styling these vintage pieces together, because you can get that sort of eclectic feel and wear those pieces together that you love without it looking dated. But really, you can wear whatever you want, is what I always say. Now on to the bracelets. I think I got this on Etsy. This is just a gold-filled bracelet, and it has little flowers. Again, I love flowers, just sort of etched on the side. I like the clasp because it opens, and I always love a chain type of clasp because it keeps you from losing the bracelet. This is very important to me, that it has a type of clasp that I can put on by myself. I love the look of, you know, the lobster clasp on many of the bracelets that I tend to look at and shop for online, but it's just not practical. I don't want to ask someone to help me to put on my bracelet, and I also don't want to take, like, I've seen people take a piece of tape and tape the bracelet to their wrist and then use their other hand to do the lobster clasp. I don't have time for it. So a bracelet like this with a nice clasp is ideal for me. And it's also a bangle, just very simple, very easy to pair with my other gold jewelry, but it's not super basic in that it's just a solid gold bangle. It has those flowers and it has that vintage feel to it, which is why I love looking at it, and it feels a little bit different and a little bit more special. I'm not sure what era this is from. I know it was sold as vintage, but it still does look, you know, more old-fashioned. It gives me that look and that feel, and it really does go well with the rest of these rings. All right, next we have my absolute favorite piece of jewelry, and that is a bracelet that has been passed down to me through my family. It's the only jewelry I have that's been passed down to me, and it's from my tia Nena. She left this to me. She's since passed on, but it's a silver bracelet that she bought for herself when she was in Guatemala. She grew up in Guatemala, and she's of Spanish descent, but a lot of her culture comes from Guatemala because that's where she spent most of her life before she came to the US. And it's just so incredibly beautiful. It's, again, all silver, and on top of the silver is a sort of gold tone. It's almost like barely noticeable. This bracelet is very old. I'm not sure when she purchased it, but it could have been in the 1920s. She was born in 1907, so I'm guessing maybe around there. Yeah, this has sort of embossed in it these birds, and those are each bird is a quetzal, and the quetzal is the national bird of Guatemala. I've never seen one in real life, but I've seen pictures of them, which I will put in the video, and they're so incredibly beautiful. They're like orange and green, and they have these super long tails, and that's what you see on the bracelet, is these flourishing long tails on each of the silver panels. And the silver panels are separated by hinges, which makes the bracelet kind of mold to your wrist and makes it very comfortable to wear. Another thing I love about this bracelet is, again, it has this chain that's holding it together to make sure that I don't lose it, you know, if it comes undone, if the clasp comes undone. And the clasp is also very easy to, if I can put together, you know, like I can put it on myself, which is a nice bonus. But I look down at this and I see my family's history. I think about my tia Nana who wore this, and it's a piece of family history that is so absolutely priceless to me, and I'm just so happy that she decided to leave it to me to enjoy. So yeah, that's my favorite piece. And last but not least, let's talk about these earrings. So these were a find on Etsy, and the seller said that they were from the 80s. They are sort of an upside down heart that, you know, where it goes into, you know, the hole in your earlobe. And then it trickles down to this enamel green and orange triangles. It's upside down. It has gold tone to it. I don't think it's real gold. It couldn't have been real gold because it wasn't expensive enough to be real gold. They're not super heavy. They're not the lightest earrings in the world, but I just love them. They don't match, I mean, as you can see, like they don't match with a lot of stuff, but I kind of don't care. I love wearing these with a white t-shirt or a black camisole, or, you know, something that will really let them stand on their own. I think that they are so like kind of chunky and like bright and eye-catching, and I actually wore them at Thanksgiving. Sometimes I like to wear them with my hair up, just like that, so they can be sort of the star of the show. But yeah, they really remind me of, you know, like, I mean, like, I don't remember much about the 80s. I mean, I was alive in the 80s, but I don't remember much, but that feeling of like, oh, that's very 80s. So I really love these earrings for making a statement. So that is my vintage jewelry collection. It seems like you all really like the fashion videos from the ones that, you know, the content that I made so far. So I'm going to bring you more fashion videos. So look forward to that. Thank you for spending this time with me. I hope that you stay well and stay safe, and I will see you in the next video. Okay, bye-bye.